My beloved child. There is a silence forming around you that you cannot hear yet, but it is already louder than words. Someone you care about is slowly stepping back, not because they stopped feeling, not because they never cared, but because something in your behavior quietly taught them that staying hurts more than leaving. This is not a sudden goodbye. This is a long decision made in small moments. Every pause you ignored. Every emotion you dismissed. Every time they waited for you to notice, and you didn't. They did not wake up one day and choose to disappear. They stayed awake many nights asking themselves how much more they could endure. Right now, while you think things are normal, a permanent ending is being prepared behind the scenes. And the most shocking part is this. You unknowingly gave them the reason. This message is not meant to scare you. It is meant to reveal the truth before it becomes irreversible. Because once they leave, they are not coming back the same. Some doors close softly. Others lock forever. Listen carefully now, because this is where everything begins to make sense. They never wanted perfection from you. They wanted presence. They never expected grand gestures. They expected consistency. What pushed them away was not one big mistake. It was the pattern. The repeated moments where they felt unseen. The times they spoke, and you heard, but did not truly listen. You may think you did nothing wrong because you never intended harm. But intention does not erase impact. They slowly learned that expressing their feelings led to distance, not closeness. That opening their heart was met with silence, distraction, or defense. So they adapted. They became quieter. They stopped asking. They started preparing themselves for a life where they no longer need you. And this is the moment most people miss. When someone stops complaining, it is not peace. It is resignation. They are not calm. They are done hoping. They are teaching themselves how to live without you while still standing next to you. Now understand this deeply. The behavior that caused this was subtle. It did not look cruel. It looked normal. You delayed conversations. You avoided emotional depth. You assumed they would always understand. You believed time would fix what attention could have healed. And slowly, they felt like an option instead of a priority. They began to feel alone even when you were present. This is the most painful kind of loneliness. Being with someone who makes you feel invisible. They questioned their worth. They wondered if they were asking for too much. They blamed themselves before they ever blamed you. And while you were busy with your world, they were shrinking inside theirs. They did not want to leave. They wanted you to notice. But noticing never came. So acceptance did. And acceptance is dangerous. Because once someone accepts that you will not change, they also accept that leaving is the only way to survive. Here is the part that will shock you. They are not leaving in anger. They are leaving in clarity. There is no drama in their heart anymore. No chaos. Just a quiet decision that has already been made. That is why you might not see it coming. They still smile. They still talk. They still show up. But emotionally, they have already stepped away. They are detaching gently, carefully, so it hurts less when they finally go. This is what makes it permanent. They are not planning to come back. They are planning to move forward without reopening old wounds. And the reason is simple. They tried. Longer than you realize. Harder than you noticed. And now, self-respect is speaking louder than love. When that happens, love does not win. Preservation does. Before this part ends, you need to understand one final truth. This is not about blaming you. This is about awareness. Because the behavior that pushed them away is still active. And if nothing changes, the ending will arrive exactly as predicted. People do not leave when they stop loving. They leave when they stop feeling valued. And once someone learns how to live without needing your validation, they will never beg for it again. Right now, you are standing at the edge of a moment that can change everything. Or end everything. What happens next depends on whether you recognize the warning hidden inside this silence. The next part will reveal the exact moment they decided to leave. And once you hear it, you will never see your actions the same way again. There was a specific moment when something inside them shifted, and you never noticed it happen. It did not come with shouting or tears. It came quietly, in a second where they realized explaining themselves again would change nothing. That was the moment they stopped fighting for understanding. Not because they lacked words, but because they finally understood that being heard and being listened to are not the same. They watched your reactions closely. The distractions. The half-responses. The way serious conversations were delayed or minimized. And in that moment, a truth settled in their heart. If they had to beg for emotional safety, then this place was no longer home. That realization did not hurt immediately. It brought relief. And relief is dangerous, because once someone feels lighter at the thought of letting go, attachment begins to die. From that point onward, everything you saw was only the surface. Inside, they were preparing. They stopped sharing their fears. They stopped telling you what scared them at night. They stopped dreaming out loud with you. You might have thought things became peaceful. Less conflict. Less tension. But peace without connection is not peace. It is emotional withdrawal. They were conserving energy. Saving themselves. They learned that silence protected them better than honesty ever did. So they became polite instead of passionate. Present instead of invested. They laughed, but it did not reach their core. And while you believed things had stabilized, they were slowly disconnecting the emotional cords that once tied them to you. This is why the ending will feel sudden to you, but for them, it has been unfolding for a very long time. Understand this clearly. They did not want to be perfect for you. They wanted to feel safe being imperfect with you. But every time their emotions were met with logic instead of empathy, something broke. Every time their pain was compared, measured, or dismissed, something closed. You may have thought you were being practical. Strong. Unshaken. But to them, it felt like standing in front of someone who refused to step closer. Emotional absence hurts more than physical distance. Because it makes a person question their importance. Slowly, they stopped expecting comfort from you. And when someone no longer expects comfort, they no longer depend on your presence. Independence grows. And once emotional independence forms, attachment has very little power left. Here is what makes this irreversible if ignored. They are no longer waiting for you to change. They are watching themselves change. They are becoming someone who does not need reassurance from you. Someone who no longer feels anxious when you pull away. Someone who has already imagined life without you and survived the thought. This inner shift is the final stage before departure. When someone stops reacting, stops arguing, stops trying to fix things, it is not maturity. It is closure happening internally. They are closing the chapter quietly, because loud endings still require emotional energy. And they have already withdrawn that energy from you. This part ends with a truth that may be hard to accept. Love did not fail here. Awareness did. They needed to feel chosen without asking. Understood without explaining. Valued without proving. When that did not happen consistently, they learned the most painful lesson of all. That staying meant losing themselves. And leaving meant finding peace. The next part will expose the exact behavior that convinced them you would never change. Once you hear it, you will understand why this departure feels final, calm, and unstoppable. There is one behavior that sealed their decision, and it happened so many times that it became undeniable. It was the moment they realized you listened only when it was convenient for you. When their emotions arrived at the wrong time, you postponed them. When their concerns disrupted your comfort, you minimized them. When their pain required patience, you rushed past it. To you, these moments felt small. To them, they formed a clear message. That their feelings were secondary. That their emotional needs were negotiable. That being understood depended on your mood, not their reality. And once someone realizes they are only valued when they are easy to deal with, something fundamental breaks. They stop believing you will ever meet them where they stand. What truly convinced them was not what you did, but what you repeatedly did not do. You did not ask deeper questions. You did not notice when their energy changed. You did not pause long enough to feel what they were feeling. You assumed love would survive without attention. But love without attention does not survive. It slowly starves. They waited for you to notice the distance growing. They waited for you to reach out emotionally without being prompted. They waited for you to show curiosity about their inner world. And when that never came, clarity arrived instead. They understood that if someone truly wants to understand you, they do not need reminders. Awareness becomes instinct. And your lack of it became their answer. Here is the uncomfortable truth. They stopped feeling safe being emotionally honest with you long before they stopped loving you. And once emotional safety is gone, love has no place to rest. They began censoring themselves. Filtering their thoughts. Reducing their needs. Not because they changed, but because they adapted. They learned that vulnerability led to disappointment. That opening up led to distance. So they closed off gently, quietly, without confrontation. This is why their departure will not come with accusations. They have already accepted who you are in this dynamic. And acceptance is not forgiveness. It is preparation to leave without resistance. At this stage, they are no longer hoping for a breakthrough. They are observing your consistency. And consistency has shown them enough. They see that even now, you may not realize what is happening. That you still believe time will smooth things out. That you still think they will stay because they always have. But something has shifted permanently. They no longer feel the urge to be chosen by you. They are choosing themselves. And when someone reaches that point, persuasion loses its power. Promises lose their impact. Because change offered too late feels like a reaction, not a realization. Once someone emotionally leaves before physically leaving, the ending is already written. They are not waiting for the right moment to go. They are waiting for the right amount of strength to never look back. The next part will reveal why, even if you try to fix everything now, it may feel different than you expect. And why urgency without understanding can push them even further away. There is something you must understand before you attempt to fix anything. The moment you suddenly change now, it may not feel like love to them. It may feel like fear. Fear of losing them, not fear of hurting them. And that difference matters more than you realize. They have already watched you stay the same for a long time while they were in pain. So when urgency appears only at the edge of loss, it creates confusion, not comfort. They begin to wonder why awareness required a breaking point. Why their quiet suffering was never enough to inspire change. This is why even sincere efforts can feel hollow at this stage. Because timing shapes meaning. And right now, timing is working against you. They are also protecting themselves from hope. Hope is dangerous to someone who has been disappointed repeatedly. Even if you speak the right words now, they may not land the same way. Even if you show effort, it may feel temporary to them. Because consistency over time is what they begged for, not intensity at the end. They are watching not what you say, but what you sustain. And deep inside, they are already preparing for the possibility that nothing will truly change. That preparation makes them emotionally guarded. Not cold. Not cruel. Just careful. Because reopening their heart without proof feels like walking back into the same pain they just escaped. Another truth that hurts to hear is this. They have already grieved you while still with you. They have cried privately. They have imagined life without you. They have slowly detached piece by piece so the final separation would not destroy them. This internal grieving process is why they seem calmer now. Why they argue less. Why they appear distant but stable. You might mistake this for maturity or peace. But it is closure. And closure does not reverse easily. Once someone has mourned a relationship internally, bringing it back requires more than apologies. It requires rebuilding trust from the ground up. And trust takes time they may no longer be willing to invest. Pay attention to this carefully. The more you panic, the more pressure they feel. The more pressure they feel, the further they retreat. Because what they needed was safety, not intensity. Understanding, not urgency. Presence, not persuasion. If your energy now feels desperate instead of grounded, it confirms their fear that change only comes when you are uncomfortable, not when they are hurting. This is why silence may increase instead of decrease. This is why distance may grow even when you try harder. Because effort without emotional understanding feels overwhelming, not healing. You are not racing against another person. You are racing against their acceptance. Once acceptance fully settles in their heart, love alone cannot pull them back. Only deep, consistent, emotionally aware change can. And even then, the outcome is uncertain. The next part will reveal the one thing that can still reach them if it is done correctly. And why doing it wrong may close the door forever. There is only one thing left that can still reach them, and it is not words. It is not promises. It is not emotional speeches delivered too late. What can still reach them is ownership without defense. Responsibility without explanation. Presence without expectation. They do not need to hear why you acted the way you did. They need to feel that you finally see the impact of your actions without trying to soften it. The moment you justify, you lose them further. Because justification tells them you are still protecting yourself instead of understanding them. What they need now is rare. A quiet acknowledgement that does not ask for forgiveness. That does not demand reassurance. That does not push for immediate closeness. Just awareness. Clean. Unconditional. And grounded. If you attempt to fix this by convincing them to stay, you will fail. Because they are not confused. They are resolved. The only way forward is to create emotional safety where there has been none. That means slowing down, not speeding up. Listening without interrupting. Allowing silence without filling it. Letting them speak without correcting their memory of pain. This is not about agreeing with everything they say. It is about validating their experience. Because pain does not need permission to exist. And once someone feels truly validated after a long time of dismissal, something softens. Not attachment. But openness. And openness is the only door still unlocked. You must also understand this. Even if you do everything right now, the outcome may still be goodbye. Not because you failed again, but because healing sometimes leads people in different directions. The purpose of awareness is not control. It is integrity. If they choose to leave after being truly seen, that choice will come from clarity, not escape. And that is the only ending that does not create regret on either side. Love that respects autonomy is stronger than love that clings out of fear. And sometimes, the most meaningful act of love is allowing someone the space to choose freely, even if that choice hurts. There is a moment coming when they will decide whether to fully close the door or leave it slightly open. That moment is shaped by how safe they feel around you now. Not how much you say you care. But how deeply you show you understand. They are watching for emotional maturity, not emotional intensity. For patience, not panic. For humility, not persuasion. If they sense even a trace of manipulation, pressure, or urgency, the door will close quietly and completely. Because they have already learned the cost of staying when their needs are unmet. You cannot undo the past. But you can choose how much awareness you bring into the present. Whether this becomes an ending filled with regret or a turning point filled with growth depends on your willingness to change without guarantees. The final part will reveal what happens if you ignore this message completely. And why the loss that follows will teach a lesson that arrives far too late to change the outcome. If you ignore this moment, the ending will arrive quietly, without warning, and that is what will hurt the most. There will be no dramatic fight. No final argument where everything spills out. One day, you will simply realize they are gone in a way that cannot be explained. Their messages will feel distant. Their presence will feel polite. Their absence will feel permanent. And by the time you understand what you lost, they will already be living in a version of themselves that no longer includes you. This is how most irreversible losses happen. Not with noise, but with neglect. Not with hatred, but with exhaustion. You will replay moments in your mind, wondering when it all slipped away, only to realize it was happening right in front of you the entire time. When they finally leave, you will feel something unexpected. Regret mixed with clarity. You will see patterns you once ignored. Words you should have said. Moments you should have stayed instead of pulling away. You will recognize how often they chose you while you chose comfort. How often they reached out while you assumed they would always be there. This awareness will arrive too late to save the relationship, but not too late to teach you something about yourself. Loss has a way of sharpening vision. Unfortunately, it often does so after the cost has already been paid. They will not come back to explain. They will not seek closure from you. Because they already found it within themselves. They will rebuild slowly, quietly, with people who listen without being asked. With spaces where their emotions are not treated as inconveniences. And one day, you will hear about them living fully, laughing freely, loving differently. Not because they forgot you, but because they learned from you. They learned what they will never tolerate again. And that lesson will stay with them forever. This is the final truth. People do not leave to punish you. They leave to protect themselves. And when self-protection becomes stronger than attachment, no amount of regret can reverse it. What remains after they go is the version of you that finally understands. The one who wishes awareness had arrived sooner. The one who realizes that love is not proven by staying, but by how safe someone feels while they are with you. There is one final realization that comes after everything else, and it arrives when the silence becomes permanent. You will notice how empty familiar places feel. How certain times of the day carry a weight they never had before. You will reach for your phone instinctively, only to remember there is no one left to receive what you never said. This is when the truth fully lands. Not as pain alone, but as understanding. You will finally see how love is shaped in the smallest moments. How presence matters more than intention. How consistency speaks louder than affection. And how people leave long before they physically go. This awareness will not scream at you. It will sit with you quietly, reminding you that what feels obvious now was invisible then. At this stage, you will realize something deeply uncomfortable. They did not ask for too much. They asked the wrong person for consistency at the wrong time. And that does not make you evil. It makes you human. But being human does not protect us from consequences. It only gives us the chance to learn from them. You will understand that love is not measured by how long someone stays, but by how safe they felt while they were there. And safety is built through attention, not assumption. Through listening, not reacting. Through showing up emotionally, not just physically. This lesson will reshape how you see every connection that comes after. The loss will change the way you love in the future. You will notice emotions sooner. You will listen deeper. You will stop postponing conversations that matter. Not because you want to avoid another loss, but because you finally understand what presence truly means. And in that way, they will still shape your life, even in absence. Some people are meant to stay. Others are meant to teach. And the hardest lessons often come wrapped in someone we cared about deeply. There is a strange peace that eventually follows regret. Not because the pain disappears, but because meaning forms around it. You will stop asking why they left and start asking what you learned. You will realize that awareness delayed is not useless. It is just expensive. And the cost is often paid in people, not moments. This understanding will stay with you long after the ache fades. Quietly guiding you. Quietly correcting you. Quietly reminding you to never again ignore what someone feels just because they did not shout it. This is where the story truly ends. Not with them leaving, but with you finally seeing. Seeing how behavior shapes outcomes. How silence speaks. How love requires attention to survive. Some people come into our lives as warnings we do not recognize until they are gone. And some goodbyes are not punishments. They are lessons delivered too late to change the past, but just in time to change the future.